Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. We'll begin with our top stories. The number of persons forcefully evicted from homes is alarming, with statistics indicating that 28,500 Cameroonians were evicted just in DOUALA in 2022. Canal's Caritas is disturbed about the growing figures of forceful evictions in Cameroon. We'll tell you more in this edition of Newscast. And Cameroon will import a huge consignment of rice from India this last quarter of 2023 to guarantee supplies in market during the end of year festivities. Cameroon is among the African and Asian countries that India has accepted to export 1.34 million francs or tons of rice. We'll tell you more in this edition of Newscast. Good evening once more, and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. Kidnap 11-year-old Form 2 students at the Catholic Bilingual Collège de la Retraite at the Wada area under Yaoundé 1 municipality. Hilary Diala has been released from the hands of her kidnappers this evening. The story is that the young student is always being dropped and picked to and from school by the father, but yesterday, Wednesday, she left alone, boarded a cab for Carrefour Mesasi. There she boarded for her young home alongside another lady whom the bike decided to drop inside another area before taking her home not far off, but she never made a home. Later in the night, the kidnappers reached her worried father, asking for a ransom of 10 million francs CFA, or the rest will follow. In fear and confusion, the parents reported the matter to the police, and investigations was opened there, and therein the most sacred of all investigations begun. The telephone lines of the parents were open only for the investigations mission, tactically and skillfully tracing the path they arrived at the house of the kidnappers. We'll tell you more in our subsequent editions of Newscast. And driving the capital city, Yaoundé, has become a nightmare. So many potholes is a new order calling for tact and skills to stay safe from consequent accidents and other damages. How do motorbike riders and car drivers survive in the process? Our reporter Beatrice Ngamo tells us more.
Understanding tolerance are some of the strategies drivers plowing our different neighborhoods in the capital Yaoundé are put into play in the face of the decorative potholes all over town. Not so easy when motorbike riders and car drivers are to take the same lane or corner. The who should wait for who to go first imperative, as bike riders always meander their way, forcing the other to collaborate. Many of the drivers are often trapped in the potholes, gutters some have become today.
We want to have the right to live and then enjoy our country, Cameroon. We love Cameroon, but we don't know what is happening. They can do it. Ils peuvent le faire. Ils peuvent le faire. Ça ne coûte pas cher. Voilà. Les routes sont dégradées. Ça nous dérange.
The consequences not far-fetched. Intense traffic and frequent accidents.
The road is very, very bad and it's really disturbing us in riding. There are times that we even have accidents. It's very bad, and also for the condition of the bike, it also destroys the bike
The cars, like bikes, are not left out, victims of costly damages. The cry on every lips is for the potholes to be filled so that circulation will be fluid, so too safe rides around town.
And the number of persons forcefully evicted from homes in Cameroon is alarming, with statistics indicating that 28,000 Cameroonians were evicted just in the city of DOUALA in the year 2022. Canal's Caritas is disturbed by the growing figures of forceful eviction and have urged the government to rethink its eviction policy, as we hear in the following story.
Plusieurs années, les évictions ont repris de plus belle dans la ville de DOUALA et ailleurs.
We are talking about a forceful eviction from homes, which is alarming in Cameroon, with statistics indicating that 28,000 Cameroonians were evicted from their homes just in DOUALA alone in the year 2022. Canal's Caritas is disturbed about the growing figures of forceful eviction and have urged on government to rethink its eviction policy by adopting a more humane approach, as we hear the following story.
190,000 tons of rice is the quantity Cameroon will be importing from India this third quarter of 2023. It is one of the products with high annual import rate in spite of the promotion of the import substitution policy.
When we get in touch with the international fund donors, they push the government to abandon the development of a farm who was processing rice at an industrial scale, notably Soderim in Sanchu. They abandoned it there. If you go now, you will see the machines, you will see also land. But, you know, the more you abandon something, the more people will have the habit to come and do what they want there.
Cameroon's current rice production of 100,000 tons is still unable to meet the annual 500,000 ton demand.
2030, we will be able to produce locally close to 200,000 tons, because actually we are producing only 100,000 tons and our local needs is going up to 500,000. So we are supposed to import only 400,000 tons. Unfortunately, when we go on the field and you will look to the figures, we are importing close to 1 million tons.
According to experts, these cannot help Cameroon achieve its emergence goal by 2030, except in the short term it gives out subsidies to rice farmers to increase production.
At the short-term time, the government have to give subsidies to local Cameroonians to produce chemical pesticide. If we do it here, we have already land, we have already water, we have already people who have been trained to grow rice, and with the chemical pesticide, they will multiply by 3, by 5 the production of rice in our country.
The 190,000 tons to be imported is an equivalent of almost 4 months of local rice consumption that will guarantee supplies during end-of-year festivities. In 2022, Cameroon imported at least 650,000 tons of rice to the tune of 162.5 billion francs CFA and accounted for 4.6% of overall imports. It is still one of the products that negatively affects the country's trade balance.
That was rather a report by Gladys Ambo-Dibang telling us how Cameroon intends, or the government intends, to import a huge consignment of rice from India this last quarter of 2023 to guarantee supplies in markets during end-of-year festivities. And the president of the Cameroonians Movement Party, Maurice Kamto, has urged youth at the Scientific and Innovative Forum, GSEC 2023 in Yaoundé, to strive more towards discoveries and production of items that can generate income and project them to the world. He was talking this day after visiting the different exhibitions in the platform. Let's take a listen to Maurice Kamto in the following excerpt.
I'm impressed by the capacity of our youth to innovate. And they are really, you see, they are conversant with some technologies which can put our country on the map. And I'm very hopeful that in the next years we'll hear of many of them in terms of not only innovation but also production. I've seen a lot of things in the field of agro-industry. Yes, and I think that probably the government is doing a lot. I hope so, but it still needs to help these people reach another level and make the product available in our supermarkets and so on and so forth.
And a group of Cameroonian youth have decided to spotlight on entrepreneurship as a way out of the high rates of unemployment in the country. They made the revelation during a workshop that held in DOUALA on October 19. They equally called on government to implement entrepreneurship as a course in school or timetable. More in the following story with our students on internship, Christy Aya.
In engaging in entrepreneurship rather than hoping to gain employment after schooling. According to them, launching a business in Cameroon is very challenging.
You have taxations, you have this, you have that, but you should not be afraid to launch a business. You should not be afraid to start something.
Their mission is to bring together startups to promote the brand image of Cameroon and promote the ideal of entrepreneurship among youth.
My big dream is to sit down one day in front of your TV and listen to the head of state calling the whole government to introduce entrepreneurship education in school curricula. Why do we not teach entrepreneurship in this country?
Their wish is for the Cameroon government to implement entrepreneurship as field of study in schools, even from secondary level, to help fortify young Cameroonians. In the meantime, they offer counseling programs and mentorship both off and online to aspiring entrepreneurs who come knocking at their services.
And that was rather a report by Saleh Sherifa. Some graduates in DOUALA, Cameroon have been drilled on best of practices to implement in the search for jobs. This was during a seminar that held under the theme Job Dating Rendezvous Emploi at a campus day of the University of DOUALA. The event guided the young people on the proper and ethical path to follow while seeking for a job. Christy Aya reports.
Equipping these youth with the necessary skills and knowledge to successfully navigate the competitive job market is the focus of this meeting at Campus 2 of the University of DOUALA. A majority of them are graduates who still in search for jobs.
On s'est rendu compte que les jeunes avaient beaucoup de difficultés à chercher le travail.
We found out that most youths don't know on how to organize the document when going for a job interview. Most do use the same CV to apply in different work. So our main aim is to let you know that the method they use in search a job is not the good one.
La façon dont ils cherchent le travail n'est pas la bonne manière.
The job dating rendezvous d'emploi was an opportunity for professionals to share their expertise, offer valuable recommendations and tips on job hunting, CV writing, and interview techniques.
Actuellement, c'est déjà d'avoir un projet.
The first step to take is by having a project title, to know what I want to do in life and where I want to go. And where in the field, we need to ask ourselves, what do I know and how best can I do it? And also, it's good to do a good CV, a good letter of motivation. Participants expressed satisfaction as most of them realized they had been using the wrong employment search approach.
I've learned that I have to precise my competence, refer to the post that I want to attend, and I have to prepare before going to the with the interview.
The platform, created at Campus 2 of the University of DOUALA, allowed the youth to engage in meaningful conversation with professionals while providing a unique opportunity for the students to gain insight into the job market current demand, expectation, and career prospects.
And the number of persons forcefully evicted from homes across Cameroon is alarming, with statistics indicating that 28,000 Cameroonians were evicted just in DOUALA alone in the year 2022. Canal's curators is disturbed about the growing figures of forceful evictions and have urged a government to rethink its eviction policy. More in the following story.
Plusieurs années, les évictions ont repris de plus belle dans la ville de DOUALA et ailleurs.
285,000 Cameroonians were evicted from their homes in DOUALA alone in 2022. This is a substance of a study of renowned varsity don Dr. Salama carried out recently. The figures are bywords of the agony, pain, and frustration that hundreds of thousands of eviction victims are slashing into. Most of them now spend their time in the streets in all desperation. It is the sorrow plight of these citizens that has attracted Kodas Caritas, a humanitarian organization, to wade into the scene. It has launched a campaign for the promotion and protection of decent lodging rights as eviction policy continues to make more victims in the country.
Après l'étude que nous avons menée l'année dernière, toujours par le procès Sanama, procès de l'Université de DOUALA, c'est 285 000 familles dans la rue pour la seule ville de DOUALA.
Experts, civil society actors, and varsity dons have all highlighted the negative effects of these evictions. The fallout of such eviction, they say, is environmental pollution that breeds many diseases. Another expert highlighted the double face of the evictions, noting that the economic rights of both the government and the population are at stake.
On trouve des pistes de solutions à l'État pour que cessent véritablement les évictions forcées.
From every indication, the eviction scenes are often very terrifying. People are violently shot out of their houses without prior notification, let alone compensation. That is why the platform of associations for decent lodging in Cameroon is calling on governments to adopt a more pacific and sustainable approach to the development of the nation. By organizing a day of reflection on this issue of grave national importance, they are urging the government to rethink its eviction policy by adopting a more humane approach to this policy.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of the Prime Time Newscast in the English language on Canal to International. Thanks so much for watching. But coming up next is the brief with Lil Peugeot. As for me, I will be back same time tomorrow. Good night.